Okay.
누구 하고 있어?
지금 너무 하고 있어.
아 그래.
Today, I want to talk to you about money.
지금 컷. 현재.
So starting from yesterday, I got this book called Make Money Easy by an author named Lewis House. And he's basically talking about how everybody has a money story. And if you have a bad relationship with money, there's ways to heal that relationship with it. So he gives, it's a great book. I've only read halfway through it, but I want to go through the first sort of like 5 questions just to see what your money story is like compared to what my money story is like. Now, to be fair for the audience, like I spent about an hour and a half thinking through these questions for myself. But for Iris, she's just like jumping in. Like we just put the kids to bed. She just showered and I thought it was just gonna be like a casual conversation in our PJs, and like she's all maked up and like she looks beautiful. So
Thank you.
yeah. So money story. And I just want to preface it to the audience member. Like the reason why I'm talking about money is because when we were growing up, we weren't talking about money at home. It was more of like a hush hush. We always don't have money at home and we just never talk about it. And I think growing up, we take on these beliefs about money. And then now as we're raising kids, our 5-year-old and the 2-year-old, not only are we thinking about like how to think about money, but we're also thinking about how they could be a better communicator when it comes to like sharing their emotions and things of that nature, right? But today I just want to focus on the topic of money, and then also your thoughts about like knowing that even if we work so hard, like we can't get ahead of like the inflation, or like buying a house is no longer like a goal that we had because we were part of it, but we exited. So yeah, we'll start there. There's 7 questions in the book, but we're just gonna dive into the first 5. So I'll read the questions and then we'll just answer one by one.
But I thought you wanted to share what you learned from the book and what you found out.
Yeah. So when I realized my parents' way of spending money, it was never for themselves, but it was always for the family.
But 아빠.
Yeah, so the reason why Appa spent a lot of money on the side hustles is for the family.
Okay. What about the cameras and...
Maybe not the cameras. To take family photos and
Oh yeah, that's true.
create good memories. And I think because of that excuse, not an excuse, but he was able to justify purchasing, the reason for purchasing. I also thought the same. I'm like, oh, so the whole point of it came down to like, why am I not happy? Why is money
because it's not for yourself,
Yeah.
but for family.
That's right. If it was for is a reason for family, which business development is, I find some joy because now I can spend it in order to use it, rather than not being able to spend it at all. And so that's the realization I want to share with you.
That's funny. I mean, like in our family, I mean, I don't really buy many things, but I just buy small little things here and there. But I think
She's a Temu
back.
Temu guru.
Thinking
Timu guru,
back,
yeah.
like my mom and dad didn't really buy anything, like unless it's necessary. I think by growing up, I mean, but if it's necessary, they spend it. Like my mom always buy like 2 together because I have my older brother. She didn't really want to see me like looking up to like brother like begging for my time. Like she bought like 2 sets all the time, whatever we need, like computers or like MP3s or whatever. So unless that, like I didn't really see my mom and dad spending a lot. And I think that's why I usually like hesitant to like, do I really need it?
Yeah, so yesterday you gave me some time to go to just do my own thing at the nighttime, and I told you about the store. I went. I was not intending to walk into that store, like the clothing store, but I just happened to go in and try some pants on and like, cause like, all my clothing are either like I got too big in the belly area, like, and they're majority of the like
No,
teachers'
you were
clothes.
too skinny.
Yeah,
that
I was.
time.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I was way too skinny, and so I just gained some weight.
Yeah. You look good.
But I when I tried those clothes on, I'm like, this feels so nice, and I was happy about it at first because I'm like, I'm gonna buy it because I'm now gonna do business, and I need to look the part, right? But another part of me was like, like, why was I getting uncomfortable spending the money? It's because I never had spent it for. I think if there's only one thing I spent for myself, when I graduated my teacher's college back in 2014, I bought myself a Lacoste, that sweater, the black navy sweater, which I still wear to this day. And that was like, I think $300 or something. It was the most expensive clothing, and I would have never done that. And that's the only thing I remember. It's like I bought it for myself, and for me to give the permission
How about laptop, your phone?
that those are like necessities. Like,
Yeah.
are they not a necessity? I think technology is more lenient. Yeah, but yeah, like both of us, we don't, we're not like clothing brand. Like we don't really buy too much brand stuff. I mean, we only buy it on food. Entertainment is only like what, Netflix. That's it. Yeah, we're pretty like easy maintenance couple. And I asked myself, okay, if I were to spend something to make myself happy, what would that be? I couldn't come up with an answer because it was so foreign to me. It's like, what? You're gonna spend money for yourself, not for the business, but just for yourself? And the book actually talks about different ways to like encourage that, to heal the process with money.
Like encourage to buy what you want to buy, or
No, or even to like,
think about what you want to buy.
it doesn't have to be about buying necessarily, but it's like giving you time. So I think he gave an example of like learning how to appreciate if some new money comes in your way, like learning how to appreciate it. And
I
because
appreciate
that
a lot.
and because that happened, like you go for a walk for a nice place. Like you learn to celebrate it. Like you go for a small cheesecake, I don't know, or like a walk in the park because that has happened.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, that's a new concept for me. So yeah, that was another thing.
So it can relate, like once the money comes in, you feel joy, you feel happy.
Yeah, and then there's a
healing, and then
like, and also learning how to accept it and use it for yourself rather than being in this bitter state. It's like, oh, I can only use it for family because that's how I saw it growing up.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the book just says, hey, to change the trajectory of your relationship and move closer to a financial peace and abundance, it's time to have heart-to-heart with money. You may not understand all why you do what you do right now, and that's all right. Just give yourself some time and become an observer. Without adding any judgment, guilt, or shame, or observation, answer these 7 money story questions to see your current relationship for what it is. So question 1, what did you learn about money as a child? Reflecting on your childhood, feelings, belief about money originated. Like, how did your parents or siblings talk about money? How did they experience the wealth or the lack of? And when you reflect on what was the influence of the money in your family growing up?
We didn't really talk about money. But then I've heard mom and dad fighting about the money.
Yeah.
It's always about the lack of money. Yeah, so, but then I don't really feel the 부족한.
The lack. You didn't feel the lack of money.
They talk about it, but like what we had was, I think at least it was enough. Like we eat, we had clothes, we had things we need.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was about it. Like they didn't really teach about the financial goals or anything related to like money. They didn't really educate us regarding.
Yeah, and I would say the same too with our family. It's like, and I think Lewis in the book said it. It's like sometimes you have like a survival relationship with money. Like we don't talk about it, but there's just enough to get by. And what I remember is like, they experienced that as saving. Oh yeah, so they would always say you need to save. It's like it's a noble thing to save your money.
I would rather say for our family at least, it wasn't like save, but it was like spend it wisely.
Spend it wisely.
Yeah.
Do you remember like on what examples?
No, like think about like what you really need.
Like sometimes I see like mom and dad, as a child, what I saw was like, I don't think they had a like time to talk about how to look at money. So when it came to spending money, whether if it's like buying some like a new car or buying something, like there would be an argument of like why it's an unintelligent way to spend the money. And
What do
so,
you mean?
So like if my dad wanted to start a side hustle, which is quite similar to how you see me trying to start many different side hustles, right? Dad would first sort of like purchase something, because purchasing is the easiest thing to do in someone's mind, because that's the first step. But then in business, there's so many other steps, right? And when that step is made and all the product arrives to the house, mom's like, yo, what is this, right? and then she would be like, no, like, why don't you spend it in a different way where it's like you could actually get business without having to spend the money and buy all these materials. And like that's one example. Another one is like with investment. So like if they had this house, dad would want to sort of like sell it and move on, but then mom's like, no, you gotta just keep it and hold it because it's going to inflate, and that's how we're gonna grow wealth. So there was always different point of views, but it wasn't resolved in a nice way, because it just felt like pointing fingers, like you're doing this all the time. It's like, no, you don't understand me. Like I'm just trying to do this. And so for me, what I learned about money as a child is like it was always like noble to save, but we never had enough of it, and they would argue about it. And so yeah, that's sort of the thing. Question 2 says like, what is your current relationship with money? For me, I wrote down, and this one is this part is a funny thing, because I told you before on Instagram, I saw like Lewis said, if money was to walk into the room, right? Like how do you react to it, right? And then it's so funny because like on the day after I saw this video, it was like a Saturday morning, and before we went out to as like a family, like a picnic, I got so mad at the kids because the house was a mess, like toys everywhere, markers, papers, garbage everywhere. And I was like telling the kids like, you better clean up now, otherwise we're not gonna go out to picnic or something. Like I was yelling, right? It was not nice. But that for me, if money walked into the room, like that was my initial response. I was gonna go confront the money in a angry tone so that I can control it. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. And so I thought about it. I shared it on social media. And then I asked some of my entrepreneur friends like what they thought of it. And some of them said like, oh, it's like, it feels like a friend. Like I haven't seen in a long time. And you said the same thing. It's like,
I feel like welcome.
yeah, it's like money was like, welcome. I'm like, what? Like, how did you
How would you not?
Yeah, I'm like, you're right. Why would I not say that, right? It's like an old friend you haven't seen in a while. Like, come on in. You feel so welcoming, right? So that was the initial, when that question was asked, it provoked in me that reaction. And so now I'm like, hey, if I can actually decide for myself today, consciously, to be able to change that mindset so that when money does come, I can be like, yo, what's up? Like, and it's funny because like I told you last Friday, I went golfing, first time 18 hole with my longtime friend. And I think people who get married and have kids, like our relationships go in and out, right? And so it was really nice to see that friend. And I'm like, oh, this is what it means to be like welcoming a friend, like just like how you would welcome money. And so, yeah, that's something I want to have a relationship intentionally now in terms of trying to welcome it in rather than be like, yo, you want to be part of my life? Like, I want you to do this, so I can feel like I can control you. Yeah, of that nature.
Okay.
What would you say is your current relationship with money? And you can be honest, like you're living with me too, so it's probably not the most.
I don't know. Survival.
Like what do you mean?
I didn't really think about it, so I'm not too sure what it means. But I would say you come and go, like just visiting, like my paycheck. Just step into my bank account and
Just
on the
walks
same
right
day
out.
just go away to pay off the bills. And yeah, I think it's like just short visit for now.
Short visit.
But I'm like trying to grab some and put it into like somewhere, like in the pocket or wherever I can, so that whenever I need, I can, oh yeah, I found this. Like welcoming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was there. We can use this for something.
In our relationship, Iris, she always finds something in her like jackets, whether if it's like spring jackets or winter jackets. And so she'll be like, oh, guess what? I have $5 bill here and like $20 bill.
Yeah.
And so I think that's amazing. Yeah. Just two more questions. What do you believe to be true about money? Your belief about money drive your behaviors with money. Is money good, bad, or neither? Is it a tool? Is it a measure of success? Is it a status symbol? Or is it something else? It is something only certain people can obtain. Oh, is it something that only certain people can obtain, or is there enough for everybody? Once you can identify your beliefs about money, you can start to sort through which ideas are true and lies. So I'll share what I wrote down in my journal here. What do you believe to be true about money? So yeah, for me, since we had our first son, you know that I was going into renovation and like real estate investing because I knew there was money to be made. So it really came down to means of survival. But the funny thing is like the funny thing is I didn't have an end goal of like, oh, if I reach this amount, I would be pretty happy. But it was just like, it's like a fear of missing out, the FOMO. It's like, oh, if I don't do this now, like I'm never gonna make it. So it was like a sort of survival mode.
Yeah, and you didn't share that while you're doing the renovations and
like
all
buying
other
houses.
Yeah, trying to earn more money. I thought you enjoyed doing it, but ended up like you were torturing yourself doing all the whole house renovation by yourself.
Down
like,
to the stud. Like everything.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous. I don't even know how I
was like,
did that.
I just need the quality time with you, and you just ignored me. No, I gotta do this, do that, do that. And ended up you did it for my happiness. I was like, that's not what I asked for.
Yeah, that's so funny because you're like, it's like, honey, I never asked for that. It's like, oh, what? And I'm like in the busyness of it. I'm like, wait, what? You never asked for this? It's like, because I thought in my mind, if I made this house, renovate it, complete it, flip it, and sell it, make a lot of money, 6 figures, ta-da! You're like, are you so proud of me? You're like, I never asked for this. So yeah, what did I believe about money was like, it was a means to survival, but I didn't know in my unconscious mind, like what the final stages should have looked like, success would have looked like, and then brought myself to like a successful stage. Another thing is, maybe I shared this with you or not. My grandmas on my mom's side, they were from North Korea, right? And they were telling, my grandma used to tell me stories of like how they were very wealthy and they had like I think you would call them like servants in the house, like people helping out in the house.
Back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day, right? And after the war, like she lost everything. Like they said they had lots of land, but they have nothing now. And so for me, it was like, what do I believe to be true about money is like, when I heard that, it's like somewhere in my family line had success about wealth. And so it felt like a birthright to me. It's like, it's something I was, my family, line of family was given, but they had lost it because of the circumstance of the war. And we just never got it back. And so the circumstances are out of my control. And I wrote down here, and what do I think about money? I believe now, as I'm educating myself, joining masterminds, and trying to connecting with like high-level entrepreneurs, like I'm realizing there's more enough money to go around for in the world, rather than thinking beforehand when I was just working my 9 to 5. It was like I think some people say it's like a zero-sum game. Like if there's a winner, then like there must be a loser somewhere. And then if someone's winning, somebody else is hurting. But I actually don't think about it that way as well. And another thing that I thought true to be about money now is that I'm actually abusing it, because I've been on this journey, the spiral journey, and it's coming to an end. Spiral journey of like,
hopefully,
it is of borrowing, and like even with the banks and mortgages, like that's borrowing, like mortgages. I recently took out a business entrepreneur startup loan so that I can fund this. And so it felt like I was abusing it, but yeah, I'm hoping that is no longer the case, because it's a tool, it's a resource. And when you are a person with like as a high level energy, like money will be drawn to you rather than like me chasing after people. But yeah, those are some of the things I thought about, what I believe to be true about money.
To me, about the money, it is necessary to have to survive, but I don't think. I never thought like if one has one, like someone lose it, or I didn't have that kind of mind. But I just thought that there are just certain people who's wealthy, and most of us, like, but that's true, like most of us 9 to 5, but they can never reach the wealthy
status.
like, and even now when you think about it, like a lot of people are doing like second job or third job, looking for, or like willing to do
more work,
right? Because inflation is so high, you cannot live with your salary increase, like that's nothing. But then, like, as I talked about the money with you, especially within like starting from this year or late last year, my like the money concept has changed a lot. Like, we talk about it, like it is abundant. God gave us in more than enough. And if you're willing, and it's there.
There's a salesperson. He's a great I think sales teacher. his name is Jeremy Miner, but he said once, like in interviews, like God feeds the birds in the air, but God doesn't put worms in your mouth.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, you gotta go out and do the work. And building a bit off of that too, like somewhere along in my journey of like working as a 9 to 5 and then doing side hustles, I realized, oh, there's multiple streams of income that was looking very attractive to me. But after having to do all that, I realized there's not much focus and you actually cannot build a real business. You just cannot get more income if that was the actual goal. And that's when I realized, oh, like I can't. And the other spectrum is like the people who work only 4 hours a week, like Airbnb.
Yeah.
It was pretty decent.
That's good.
Yeah, me having to just work a couple hours a week.
And you didn't like it.
I did not like it because, and there's multiple reasons. Yeah, because there's the management part of it, and there's a reactive.
The messages.
Yeah, and I think if I hired somebody to take care of the management, it would have made sense if I had more than one property. But I only had one, and my intention was not to grow that.
Grow more.
And so going back to that 4 hours work week, I realized like I became really lazy. Like, yes, money was flowing in, but I wasn't stewarding it as much as I would have liked it to. Because I became like, oh yeah, now I just work 4 hours a week. You guys know that? And then lo and behold, like business, yes, there's high seasons and there's also low seasons.
Yeah, and I think part of it is also because you didn't want that business, Airbnb business, to be grow, and there's no passion on.
My heart wasn't in it. Yeah.
So it's draining. It's just you don't want to do more. If you were willing and you had passion and you wanted to pursue more, I think it would have been more
beneficial,
enjoyable when you were working.
That's true. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, my heart was in it at the first.
But once you realize that, there's like, it's not going.
Yeah, because that's when the government
better.
in Ontario,
right.
I mean, globally, everyone's like, they're making money. We gotta set up rules and restrictions, and landlords are getting angry, and like the professional tenants were trying to work their way in. But yeah, that's in terms of like what we say about true is. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's that section. We'll just land on.
Because we're talking about different things about than the question itself, like the truth, but.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's deviating from the original question.
Yeah.
But I think it still goes to other listeners would think about is like, I bet you either they are married, they have been working in their business or in their job, and they're saying like, how do I make more, right? Like, I even know couples that are doctors and like they're saying the same thing. Is like,
the truth is like, no one would feel like it's enough. Like they would willing to have more if possible,
right? Yeah.
I think that's the truth too.
Side question before we end on this last question is like the boomer generation and like what was good for them. So for example, me when I was teaching, they were promised a great salary. I mean, pension, right? And I actually came out of it because I disagreed with the pension because like we're trailing off of like what they had gone through, the promise for them, what worked for them, and it's not going to working for me when I get to 65. Do you think this is the same for like what our younger parents as well as younger kids are going through now? Like they come out of high school, university, or college, and then they're trying to look for a job, but then realize job doesn't pay too much in order to buy into that promise of like, you can get your first house.
But I think we have to think differently because now I think they're more educated in terms of financial education, like, and they know how to make money. You know, like now, like late, like teenagers or even like, yeah, teenagers are earning a lot of money, and 20s
Online
are
money, yeah.
a lot, like, and there is opportunity and they know it. So I think, it's not everybody, but also for them it's good. They grow their own business and getting ready for their retirement. I mean, very early in the life stage. I don't think it would matter for them. And also for other children, like other kids, like we talk about it, like everyone, most of the parents now consider about their kids' future in terms of money. So parents are investing for them as well right now. Like RESP or
like different savings accounts,
different savings account from the beginning, like and most of the
stocks.
Like young parents now talk about the stocks, like so that if we put into the stock, like when they grow up, it will
they would be
grow.
more
So I think it is a little different because parents now know how to educate children.
Just like when we grew up, we didn't know, our parents didn't know, because they didn't have access. But because now they do, now that they're parents, they're like, yo, I'm gonna give my kid a better situation than how I grew up.
And because we understand that the pension program is not working, it's not gonna work. So we educate kids
at an early age.
At the early age. And that's what we talk about too. Like how are we gonna educate our kids?
In terms of financial literacy, or like or we can build up the investment for them so that when they become a certain age, they can reap the benefits of it. I think this question will be an interesting one, and then we'll just finish this portion of the book. But it says, what are your greatest financial fears? So fears fuel actions. So what you fear the most about money will determine what you do with money. Are you concerned about your debt? Are you afraid you might not be able to retire when you want? Remember, this is a time of reflection and not blaming or shaming yourself. It's important to know the fears you're living with so you can address them and eventually free yourself from the hold they have on you. For me, when I when I thought about this question about like what do I fear, what's my financial fears, I was laughing. I was sitting in the like a bubble tea shop at like 11 p.m. But as I was writing my answers for this, I was laughing because it made no sense at the end. And I'll show you what I mean. So my greatest financial fear is like letting down my family to a path of like breaking or separating or imploding due to my inability to make money. And I was like, what the heck? My inability to make money? And it wasn't like the inability in the means of like, oh, I get physically injured, so I cannot actually work. It wasn't that. It was like me not living up to my responsibility, which is funny because I would never do that. There was no fear about retirements. For me, I was like, yo, are you kidding me right now? There's this biggest opportunity, and like people, like this is the best time to be living right now because it's the best time to catch the opportunity. And so if you do that, retirement, like I'm not even 10 years ago, if you asked me, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going to stay with the school system, be a teacher for like 40 plus years and get my pension. Now I'm like, I'm sorry, bro. Like that pension, if I'm in the system, I'm supporting the boomers, like their pensions, right? So there was no financial fears around that. What did I write next? Survival mode, being actively true. But is this true? Oh yeah, so here's the funny thing. It's like, okay, if my fear came true and like I was a lazy bum, I'm like, I'm a king now. Like like you do everything and like I'm just gonna sit down and do nothing and just like enjoy my life, right? What happens is we would be homeless, but then even to that point, and this is where I was laughing in my journal, I'm like, if I became homeless and I knew I had to pick it up again, I knew where to find food for free. I mean, it's not like garbage food, but it's like
Yeah.
I would know how to
Yeah,
talk to people.
right now,
Yeah, I would know how to reconnect to the community through a church or friends and just let them know it's like, hey, this is what I've gone through. I need this amount of time. Would you help me cover? Like, I think I would communicate in a way that is sufficient so that we wouldn't starve to death on the road, which is so funny because like, so that's why I was laughing. I'm like, I'm fearing about the worst thing, but I know how to get out of the worst thing. So like,
it's
why
not-
was I fearful
Yeah.
about it?
But then realizing that gives you relief on your financial fear.
Yeah, so that's why I was laughing at the shop. And like nobody was there at the shop except for the two baristas just like looking at me. He's like, who's this Asian guy just laughing with this like green book? It says making money easy. So yeah, what did I write? My standard, I want to uphold my desire of responsibility. I think that meant to say it's just like, yeah, it was fearful for some reason because I felt like I was not being responsible of my duty as a dad, as a husband, or even to myself. But yeah, I don't think it rings true anymore because I shot the light to it and it's like, wait, what
But
the,
there's nothing there.
this logically doesn't make sense. Like, what the, yeah, so that's something I want to share.
Okay.
Yeah. Financial fears for you maybe, or should we go on to the next one?
Financial fear. I don't know. Back then, I don't think I have financial fear. To be honest, it's just because I've seen a lot of struggles in my household, but like my mom somehow like make it work, and even like because like they've been fighting because my father poison
Like wrote a agreement to like, I think it's like a loan.
like he's gonna pay back
Be the guarantor.
the guarantor.
Yeah.
And that's like not just once, but I think twice or 3 times. That's why my mom was so mad every time bring it up. But
Yeah.
then we still live.
Yeah.
And also my brother had a very severe issues. But then even though it took I think about 10 years, but he was able to came out of the loans, and he's still paying back, but he can earn money, and
Yeah.
he has ability, and
Yeah.
and that's why I'm like, even if something happened, and most of all because I believe in God, like, and I'm not just sitting down do nothing.
You don't want to do that? It's great.
It is not.
Yeah.
No, to be honest, it's not nice feeling if you're not being active, you're not working out.
Yeah, being diligent.
Or being diligent. So
you believe it all works out in the end?
in the end, yeah. And no, I think, I don't think, like, of course there is some worries, like, oh, what if we couldn't pay off, or there are worries, but it's not to the point of like fear, like, oh, what if, do I have to do something else? Like, yeah, but
this last portion of the conversation, I want to talk about where we haven't talked about this fully, and it's good because it's like we're talking about it fresh. It's about like this new AI and like where the economy is going. I saw a podcast this morning by Daniel and Tom. Daniel Priestley is like a pretty big entrepreneur. Even Omar had him on the podcast. But he was basically saying there's two systems right now. there is the old industrial system, which has the old industrial jobs that are on a decline. And then there's a new system, which is like the digital system of like being able to work a job, a project, like halfway across the world and still get paid even more money with the less amount of work, or even like media or software companies of that nature. So in your opinion, I guess the question I want to drop, and then I'll sort of talk about it, is like, do you think as young people coming out of university or high school students or young parents that are just working a 9 to 5, do you think they should learn what AI is and like what, like a skill that they can learn from with the AI, so that when that transition is needed, they can like get that new job or new opportunity so that they can make more money in the end? Or do you think like they can still work the same way that they've been doing?
I think people like young parents are already thinking about the AI as well, like trying to learn like how to implement in like kids' education, or like even themselves learning about AI to earn more money on online. So it's not like we don't see it as it's a booming right now, but I think it's slowly entering to the phase that they are willing to learn more about it. And I think there will be a lot of opportunities. But because like talking about AI, because everything is available, everything is possible. Now the question is, how are you gonna use of it? Like, how are you gonna, especially like for ChatGPT, how are you gonna prompt it so that the results are different than others? Like how you communicate with AI, not just with the people, but with AI or like computers or softwares. I think that's getting more important. Like being creative, like in terms of questions, or like picturing yourself about the goals, or like even if you can ask many things, like it's up to you who's the asking the right question to get the right answers. So I think that in the end, that would be the most important thing.
So learning to communicate with AI so that you'll be able to use it, or like learn how it works, so that you're not just like, oh, what is this? I think the same too. Like, and between my wife and I'm very, what would you say I am? I'm pretty ambitious. If I see if I see a trend, I'll be like, honey, we gotta go. And you're like, honey, like, no, no, come back here. But having to listen to the podcast conversation with Tom and Daniel, it made me realize, actually, the reason why he was brought up was because Daniel got into another podcast. So there's another segment of angry young like folks, like Gen Zs and even maybe Generation Alpha as well, because they're realizing like the system is not like some of the millennials that went through the system, like they're working, like they're managing it. They're burnt out, but they're managing it. But the Gen Zs are realizing it's like some of them are doing great, but some of them are saying like, yo, it's not working for us. So why work so hard if I'm not gonna get ahead, right? So, and I didn't know there was that much of a anger built up, but I get it. Like if I was in a different situation and the basic needs were not being met, then I think I would be in a survival mode, like pretty badly. Like me, a couple years back with the whole renovation times like 10. and that's why I want to sort of talk about it, because I know it's in some of the parents' mind, but I know definitely the people that have gone through the system. I think some people call it like the social promise. It's like, if you go through school, get a degree or something, and then get a job, get married, get mortgage, like you'll be on your way to.
It's not.
And that promise is like, it worked in the 80s, 90s.
Yeah, now I think about it, I feel really bad for like current Gen Z, like especially for the 20s. Like if I trace back what I said about like right now our age and the kids are getting more financial education because we know and we've been growing. But then in between
That gap.
they're struggling so much, I think.
Yeah.
Like they're the one who's experiencing the most confusion about the finance, because they're the one who, if they picked up right away, they got it, then they're like above millions, like billionaires.
Like if they got the idea of like how to make this work for them.
And they would feel so much gap between their peers. Like, oh, so-and-so is doing that, and what am I doing?
Like compare.
Yeah, comparison. And especially the social media is showing so much of it. Like they feel more miserable.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Like if they studied well, then they're at the okay level, I think they'll be still feel a gap because, oh, I worked so much. I studied so much to get this, but then they're earning more money.
Yeah.
Money is not everything.
Yeah, money's
but
not
if
the
you
end all.
compare it,
Yeah.
like you feel more
Like a gap,
yeah,
like a distance. Yeah.
the distance. And also, but if you think about not well studied, like just so, or like they didn't really study for
Yeah,
it, but they didn't
right.
really think about their future, and they didn't have they don't have nothing.
Yeah. Or someone to talk to about it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I feel so
Like
feel bad about
you're empathizing with them, like in that situation. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's one of the conversation, like Dan and Tom was trying to like get it through. It's like they're trying to say like, why did this happen? Like, because they're trying to understand the problem, right? And there's so it's not a simple problem. It's because before I believed too, like in the universal income, where it's like if you're part of this country, you would get like $1,000 per month. It's like a social way of thinking, right?
just the Democrat.
Yeah, I think it works to some extent, but I realized like at that time I had a very simple lens on, but then as I'm going through understanding how tax works, how the finance system works, like all that, like it's not just like a one level seesaw. It's like a multi-dimensional thing. But one of the conclusion that I drew and the podcast drew was talking about how, like, rather than trying to be fixated on the system, because like for me, I used to dream about that. Like, man, if I could be the guy who can fix the education system, right? But he was saying like look, there's the smartest people that were alive on planet Earth. They spent years, like decades, trying to solve the system, and they couldn't, and they just died. They're one of the smartest people. And so he said this word, it's like, you just got to figure out, you do you. Like you got to learn how to do you at your own pace, at your rate. And you just have to do what you're excited about and learn how to learn with AI, or like how to network and communicate with people that are making money, so that if everybody begins to do themselves and what they're good at, then naturally the economy would get better. And I thought, that's an interesting thought, because I know, and as you already know too, like the current education system is not an innovation system. It's management system, right? And so they're not going to bring in the best way to implement AI for the kids and all that.
Yeah, it would take
It's gonna take so much resource.
long
Yeah.
time as well.
Yeah, and so I think that's what I want to end the conversation on. Like we got married relatively fast compared to our friend groups, had kids relatively fast to our friend groups. And we're thinking about this because we have kids,
True.
right? And I think if we didn't have kids, I think we would be pretty happy with like just working our 9 to 5 and then going on our dates and things of that nature. But when my first son was born, something inside of me was just like,
The
panic.
responsibility.
Yeah, it's like, you know, that Inside Out, there's like, I don't even know what character this would be. It's like, I think fear or like, yeah, it's like, it's all coming to an end.
You felt that way? Oh.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. That's why it's like survival, like let's go make money like where I can. Cause like I wanted to teach for the longest time my students in software
Right.
for them to create their own software so they can sell it in the market so that they can be financially well off better than I did when I started. But there's so much politics, and again, it's not an innovation system, it's a management system. So there's no room for that. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna spend any more time and energy if it's not gonna work out. And my smartest teacher friend, I'm gonna share his initials, AS. Was that AS? Yeah. He was like, if you want to change the education system, you have to be either a prime minister or minister of education. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do that.
It's tough.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess this episode is just a open conversation of what's on a lot of our minds. Whether you have kids as a newly parents, or whether you're just getting married, you just got out of school, you're looking for a job. I think it goes to show we are in a transitory phase. And I'll just maybe leave with this, what Daniel said in the podcast is like, you know, if our great-great-grandparents just like somehow transported to today, they would probably say to us, it's like, hey guys, don't worry about the housing right now. Like, yes, for them back then, house was a utility. Like it was not an asset, right? It's just something lived in. Like it's not an asset to, like we don't calculate it as an asset. So then if they were to be alive now, they would probably say, my gosh, if you can like make something on the internet and then go to another country just by one air flight, like do that, go live somewhere and like explore the world rather than be in this one geographical location their entire life. So I think, why do I say all that? I'm saying that to say there are opportunities for each generation. As unfortunate it is for us too, like I told Iris, I'm like, honey, like I don't think owning a house is in our proximity. I mean, we can make it work, but I don't want to live that life of like having to be working so much and nothing coming back into the family. Because I see it in the possibility of like other kids making it, right? And so what would be that opportunity for you? If you don't know, just join different communities that talk about it. But obviously you have to do your due diligence. And I would say from my experience, there is no, I mean, some people might say there's get rich fast schemes. You have to do your due diligence of like what you're joining. Will I have you back on the show and talk about other things, maybe parenting, education?
Yeah, if if that helps.
Yeah. Okay, so if you want her to come back on the show, because I'm sure you find her way more interesting than me, please write down in the comments what you've thought or where your situation is now, thinking about trying to make more money or trying to start content as a business owner, or trying to start business as a creative person. And we'd love to talk more about that and engage you guys. Thanks for the episode.
Thank you.
We say see you in the next one.
Bye.
See ya.